I'm on my third motor in my Gladiator.
Oh,
I always say that's the worst part about this event is that I can't compete. I'm not just a shop that happens to work on Jeeps. I'm a Jeeper that owns a shop. We do wheel in Florida. Whether people think we do or we don't, we wheel in Florida. A lot of self-accomplishment at the end of it, and be careful who you pick as your teammate. Hey, it's Mark from the Florida Trail Team Challenge, and you're listening to The Trailhead.
Wave it up, let it roar, I feel the ground shake. Pedal down, dust flying, no time to waste. The trailhead's calling, engine power on a roll. This is where trails start and stories unfold. On the starlit skies, where the wild things roam. Every trail a journey, every Jeep a home. Meet me at the trailhead, where the wild ones run. The dust kicks high and the day's not done. With the road wide open and the turn in our soul. This is where trails start and our stories unfold.
well, welcome back to the Trailhead. In this episode, we are joined by Marc Lawson. Marc Lawson is a shop owner and Tread Lightly member and the person behind the Florida Team Trail Challenge. Did I get that right?
Florida Trail Team Challenge.
Trail Team Challenge. I'm sorry. I was so close. Okay. It's got the T's twisted around. But welcome to the show, Marc. Nice to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Awesome, man. So this is... We'll get to the event in just a second. I always like to, when I do these kinds of shows, I like to introduce the people who are talking about those stuff, because otherwise you're just a talking head that nobody knows. We'd like to get to know a little bit about you before we get into that piece of things. So my first question to most folks is, how did you kind of get started in the off-road world and off-road community?
Yeah, so I've always been, I guess, an outdoorsman. My dad growing up just was a hunter, fisher, gatherer type person. We always had vehicles to get around. We had hunting property, we had fishing camps and whatnot. So definitely grew up around it. And my first vehicle ended up being a CJ7 when I was in high school. So as a young adult, I guess you could say I actually joined a program called Civil Air Patrol, which is kind of like an auxiliary of the Air Force, but there's a lot of camping, a lot of search and rescue, so, but what better, vehicle to have doing search and rescue and out in the woods than a Jeep. So, right. Kind of how my youth was. And yeah, being that first car, that CJ7, and just loving it and enjoying every aspect of it kind of brought me to where I'm at today.
Nice. What are you driving today?
I got a 22 Jeep Gladiator as my daily driver right now.
Okay. Very nice. I hear that's the sweet spot for Gladiators right now in terms of, what you get and like the computer, and like there's certain things you can't do after 22 or 23, and yeah, you might have got the good year.
Yeah, I
no.
If anybody would ask me to buy a Gladiator, I would say don't buy a 22. I have 3. I'm on my third motor in my Gladiator. There was 3 of them that came in together, and I unfortunately convinced one of our associates that they should, I got a max tow Gladiator. Oh, that's what we need for going to Jeep shows. And they literally left an event that I was hosting, went and bought one, and theirs has had nothing but problems too. Another shop across town went to a different dealership and bought one 2 weeks later. Theirs got a motor within a week. So yeah, if you bought a Gladiator in April of 22.
Okay, I retract my previous statement. You did not get a good year. Okay.
We could do a whole show on my Gladiator. Let's put it that way.
Ouch, dude. That's dang. Ouch. I mean, I understand it at some level, because there's always, whether or not Jeep acknowledges it, there's always years and specific runs of Jeeps that have problems. Like I had a TJ that would blow a heater every year. Oof. And it's just like, I couldn't do anything about it because it would just short. And I'm just like, I'll just replace it. So it was just $100 fee. I just had to pay to myself every year just to get that, just to get heat for the winter.
Yeah. See, we're down here. We'd pay for the AC, not the heat.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. Like I can't. So, I mean, I'm from Illinois, so I can understand the humidity to a certain degree, but I've been to Florida, and especially Florida in the summer, and it's just like, it's a swamp. Like, and that's not like it's not a dig. Like Florida is actually a swamp, and it's so hot. Like I can't. Kudos to you for doing it. Have you been there your whole life?
I have. Born and raised in Tampa.
Nice. Okay. So you're used to it. It's like it's in your blood. You can handle it.
It is to a point, but I tell you right now, it's like that. It's a swamp. The shop, as soon as you open the shop doors, the air all goes out, right? So, and then you kind of like, man, let me go sit in the office for a second. Let me cool off. Let me hydrate. And then you get so comfortable and you're dry and you're like, oh, I don't want to go back out in this again. Here we go. You got to almost like continually hype yourself up to walk outside and just get smacked by the humidity.
And that's it, right? Like when you walk into it, it's like walking into a wall, especially out of air conditioning. So kudos to you for working in it, man. How long have you had a shop down there?
2018 February is when I officially went full time with it.
Awesome. You want to plug the name of it?
Yeah, it's called the Jeep Lab. Short and simple.
Okay. Nice.
Yep, the Tampa Jeep Lab. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I was doing the YouTube thing for a while, but I mean, it's a small shop, but doing the Trail Team Challenge, the Jeep Lab, running Jeep clubs down here. Got a newborn, 3-month-old. Like, it's so I've kind of had to limit myself.
Yeah,
I do.
Well, and I think the thing that a lot of folks don't realize is, you, especially with a small business and small shops, you're trying to do content, and content itself is a full-time job for most people. And we're all trying to squeeze this into our full-time jobs on top of our full-time jobs on top of our full-time jobs, and then find time for wheeling.
Yep.
So, all right. And so you also do Tread Lightly stuff then, right? Like, how did you get involved with them?
So kind of tying into the Trail Team Challenge event, I used to compete in some similar events. You may have heard in the past, it was called the 36 Hours of Uwharrie, sponsored by BF Goodrich. It was up in Uwharrie National Forest in the Carolinas. Competed a few years from that. Like I think the first year, Casey Curry actually won the event. Warren Anderson, who races with Bryce Menzie in the Red Bull team, won the second and third year. So anyway, so I did that. And that's when I got my introduction into Tread Lightly. So a part of the competition, just like what we do, is there's a Tread Lightly project tied into the event. And that's where nice. I met Danielle. And what we were actually doing in the Uwharrie National Forest was we were working in conjunction with the forest staff, but there was some trails that people were starting to make. And part of the project was, hey, we're going to build some, safety barriers so that the vehicles kind of aren't going off the side of the mountain over here and where they're not supposed to be, and that's how I got into Tread Lightly and just kind of followed up with it after the event.
Okay. I in talking with people, I find that you end up in advocacy roles like that because of just falling into it. You see people doing work, or you see people doing something, and you're just like, I'd like to help you with that somehow. And the next thing you know, you're doing that kind of stuff with them, and you're that deeply involved.
Yeah, I do the Tread Lightly trainer stuff. I do in our Trail Team Challenge event, which again we'll get more into, but everybody does have to take the 101 course, whether you're a volunteer or a challenger. So a lot of it is really just bringing awareness to it. They do a lot of bigger projects that I've gotten involved with. There's a gentleman that I want to shout out, Don Cox, who is a local Jeeper that I talked to about the event. He's actually a groundskeeper for a golf club, golf community. So, that kind of ties in a sense, into keeping things, the trails, and staying on the cart paths and the trails and not, but Don has actually jumped into the Tread Lightly, man, head first, was ambassador of the year a couple years ago. He's local to me. So he's really ran with it. He's at all Jeep Beach, Jeep Jam, for us, representing us here in the Southeast. So all props to Don. He's kind of taken it and ran with it, but that's where I've kind of embraced it as well, is like, let me keep that in the Trail Team Challenge. Let me kind of do something, give back, bring awareness for the program. And really when I got into it, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to be the cop to tell you can't be on the trail.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be the voice for the off-road community, right? So when you go to these state parks and you go to these national parks, there's always the bird watchers and the snail hunters and the turtle people that are at this round table signing off on what the off-roaders get to do. Right. But why are the off-roaders not at that same table having a say on what the turtle people get to do and the bird watchers get to do? Another thing is we go on these trails, and in Florida, they like to write tickets if you're not on the right trail, which I understand, but let's not hide the information. Let's not make this to where you've got to go on a website that you're probably not going to get serviced on in the national forest, and there's no signage, and like that's tricky. Let's not be tricky. Let's be open. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. So we kind of getting ahead of myself, but in last year's trail team challenge, we actually put together signage at the forest where as soon as you get on all the main roads, there's a massive sign with an overhang with a QR code to scan that takes you to the current app that is run by the Forest Service. And I don't want to speak bad about, apps, whether it's Gaia, whether it's OnX, whether it's whatever they are. You can go on any of these apps and the maps might not be current. So that puts people in a pickle where they're like, hey, I'm on such and such app and this says this is Trail 19. Well, no, if you go to our QR code that was at the main entrance, and if you would have scanned that, it would have said Trail 19's been closed for 5 years. So that's kind of where I've got into tread lightly and to try to be a voice for the off-roaders, not like the snitch police or anything.
No, and you're not. And so I will tell you that I think it comes from a good place because we have similar challenges here, right? And I want to ask you about what some of your challenges are for Stay the Trail and kind of tread lightly stuff out there other than just going on closed trails. But we out here have had a long history. When I moved here to Colorado in 2015, finding information on there's massive amounts of trails like right in my backyard, and I couldn't find accurate information on any of them. Mm-hmm. Not from the side websites, not from the paid websites, not from the Forest Service. Like the Forest Service maps are out of date, and it's just like, well, you can't then tell me where I can and can't be and tell me I got to go to this thing. And you got to make it easy. And a couple of years ago, they came out with something here called Colorado Treks or Co-Treks. And it has all of the current maps. And it's essentially like the legal guideline for what's out there. And it's awesome. It's great. And it's good to hear that somebody else is trying to kind of put that similar kind of thing together over by where you're at.
Yeah. So we use Avenza as what the forest here. And again, we have state forest and we have national. So like Ocala National Forest is completely different than the citrus wildlife management area that we host our event in. So even that could be a little confusing for people. Yeah.
Well, I'll send you a link to the Co-Trex one, and then maybe you can run that up the flagpole locally and see if anybody wants to try to simulate it, because it's been a game changer here. Like I've been mapping trails for a long time for Trails Off Road, and part of my justification, or not justification, part of the reason why I wanted to do that was because I kept running into these trails that had been closed, weren't getting updated, weren't getting information about whether or not they really existed, and it's become a passion of mine to make sure that people know where they're supposed to be and what they're what they're doing. So is it just is it just closed trails that you guys really have an issue with, or do you guys have a bit like grading issues and stuff like that? Because you guys have a different kind of wheeling by you.
Yeah, we do. So there's some confusion. It's when I first actually started working with the local staff for the state, I referred to it as a trail. And I was quickly corrected. It is not a trail, it is a forest road.
Correct.
So that's why on the map it's FR19. So when you go on, again, I don't want to bash any apps, I'm just using an example, but if you go on there and it says Trail 19, it's not a trail, because here in Florida, trails are for hiking trails. Or they are horse trails, horse paths. Okay. So, I'm on Trail 13. No, you're on Forest Road 13.
Okay.
So our what you would call a trail for us is a road, and that can be an asphalt, that can be a gravel, that can be a clay forest road.
Okay. All right. I just pulled it up, and I will have a conversation with Ryan at Trails Off Road about making sure that we drop the trail from Citrus Trail 13 and make it Citrus Forest Service 13.
Yep. Forest Road 13. Yep.
I like that. Well, and it's an important distinction. We've talked about it on the show before. Like you can be off road, and where you're on a road like this, and you're still insured. It's still a road, even if it's not maintained well.
Well, and like recently, so Citrus Wildlife Management Area has a large equestrian center there, right?
Right.
As well as they have phenomenal camping there. So if you've got an RV, a motor coach, there's some really nice camping. The lady Tracy Pollard who runs it is from Disney. And I'll tell you, they are probably the cleanest public bathrooms I've ever come across. I mean, it smells like she just planted a dozen roses in the bathrooms, right? So they recently have paved from what used to be just a gravel road. They've paved it to the camping from the east to it, and then southern they've paved it up to the horse trail, which is in a different location. And you would have thought Citrus got closed down. I mean, the off-road communities, they're paving everything out there. No. They're trying to keep the horses' teeth from falling out as they're getting rattled to get to the horse camp. And they're trying to save the campers from falling apart that are just getting to the campground. It literally stops at the campground, stops at the horse pen, like.
Yeah. I sometimes people take trail maintenance for tyranny, and it's just like, we're just trying to save the trail. We're trying to make it easier for everybody in whatever regard that needs to be, because it's not just you using the trail.
Correct. And that's what I use that as an example. Like, what if a family comes out here and they drive a Toyota Camry and they want to bring the kids out to go hiking? They have every right to get their Toyota Camry and drive down the hard packed clay road. And, you get mad that the washouts are gone and they've graded it, but it's their area too, man. I love to see anybody outdoors, right? So let's just take it for what it is. And a little bit of me goes, man, it's crazy that I can go to Moab and I can be on Moab Rim and look down 40 stories and see the Colorado River. But yet if I go over here and play in this clay pit, I'm getting a $200 ticket. It's unsafe. I'm like, you ever been to Moab Rim?
It's been, every time I talk to you guys that wheel out east, it's always interesting to talk about kind of that juxtaposition of the trails that you have there, and then you kind of come out west and you see what you have out west. Because I understand that the change of attitude that you see when you go from place to place. Like, there's nowhere to off-road in Illinois, right? And then you come out to Colorado and it's just, just drive over there with your Jeep. Like, so you're good. You probably shouldn't take your street tires up there, but you're good. And it's that kind of stuff that it's hard for people who have never moved or never been out west at all and experienced that to then kind of bring it locally. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
All right. Well, and so you've got you do outdoors in general. Like you've got just a wall of backpacks behind you, my friend.
I do.
Are all those in use, or are those,
they're pretty much grab and go. I think I got a laptop bag. That's a 72-hour pack. I think there's a couple Camelbacks. That one's got all my GoPros in it. So they're pretty much.
I applaud your organization, sir. That's fantastic.
Yeah, my wife thinks it's a little much, but I'll show you. There's a couple on the ground over here too that don't have wall space just yet. I got to redesign here, but yeah, my wife thinks I have a problem, but that's a part of being, prepared, right? In Florida, hurricanes, we've got storms come, and heaven forbid I'm somewhere and I can say, hey, go grab the red first aid bag hanging on the wall. It's already loaded.
Yep. Of all the people that I would say that I've talked to recently that should have a wall of preparedness, that would be you in Florida. Because I have an uncle that lives down there, and I'm just like, every time he tells me there's a hurricane coming through, I'm just like, man, I hope you got all the crap you need. So
yeah, awesome. And like I said, I've done the search and rescue stuff. I've done the first aid, CPR, Red Cross, shelters. When I was younger, and in the Air Force too as well, I helped. So yeah, I don't want to say I'm one of those crazy prepper guys, but I'm definitely, my family is well to do. We've got multiple generators that get ran, and I've got boxes ready to go, and we're prepared.
Well, I know where I'm staying when I come to Florida next.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great deal. Awesome.
Yep. Come on down.
So how did that all translate then into the team challenge? Or rather, why don't you kind of give us a breakdown of what the team challenge is, kind of at a core level? Yeah.
So again, going back to kind of my time in at the 36 Hours URE, it was something that I really enjoyed. That event only lasted about 3 years. There was some leadership that unfortunately had passed away. So I don't know if that was the passion and the drive with the event. I could definitely see when the gentleman was there, but I don't know any of the back workings. I was just a competitor. So after the third year, I did 2 years of it. It kind of stopped. And I just really enjoyed that type of event, because the Trail Team Challenge is a series of challenges, right? So it's over 45 various challenges throughout the weekend. Wow. And the whole premise is, say that me and you, we load up a rig and we're going multi-day wheeling off grid. So we'll probably get together and, hey, what bag do we need to grab? What tools do we need? You got the food. How long are we staying out? Hey, let's sit down. Let's, map out our trails on whatever app we're using, where we're going to go. Basically like a flight plan. And all right, cool, let's go hit the trails. Well, something always happens, right? Whether it's a flat tire, whether it's you come across, say, a hiker that needs first aid because their friend fell and rolled their ankle and they can't carry him out, or you blow a drive shaft, or say you're out in the Arizona, you're out in the Arizona desert and you've got fuel issues and you're stuck out there and you gotta survive for 24 hours till anybody's gonna drive by and find you, type deal. So we basically throw you 45 different scenarios throughout the weekend, and then we give you points based off of how well you do. So it's very, I guess you could say, real life. It's more like a skills/endurance challenge. But it's physical just like it's mental. And it's typically the person who, when you go out with a group of off-roaders, that person that typically when something happens, they're like, I got you. Come on, let's go. Boom. And they got the tools. They're going, we'll get you back on the trail, bro. Hey, man, open a trail soda. I got you, and they're doing stuff. Boom, you're back together. Cool, man. Hey, now we'll remember this trip. When you did that, broke that U-joint. Let's keep going. That's the type of people that are competing in this event. So when they are actually given coordinates, so every challenge has a coordinate tied to it. And when they get to the coordinate, they're told what the challenge is. Just like when me and you go off-roading, we don't know that you're going to blow that U-joint, right? It just goes and you hear the noise and you go, crap, what was that? Oh, no biggie. I got a U-joint in the back. I got a sacrificial socket. Boom, boom, boom. Put it back together, press it back in. Hey, man, cool. We didn't lose the bolts. Let's go. So that would be like a challenge that we would do. And then we would time it at the end of the event. Whoever had the fastest time would get like more points. So there's navigation, there's survival, there's first aid, there's marksmanship involved, there's recovery involved, and then there's some precision driving involved as well.
Okay, because 45 seems like a lot for a weekend. Like 40, some of those overlap, or is it just kind of like it's just boom, 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 boom?
It is intense. I will say that we do not have one team this will be our 4th year doing it that has completed all 45 challenges.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So we do break it up into like a Saturday AM. So teams will check in Friday. They'll get set up. The teams have their own camp area. They're set into a 10 by 10 area. So they're not coming and bringing RVs and campers. Again, we're putting them in the mindset that they're off grid and they're, surviving on their own. So they're trekking in everything that they're going to have for the weekend. They can't leave and go to Walmart. They can't leave and go to AutoZone. So they come in and they bring their stuff with them. They can come back to camp if they need to get some stuff, but they have to come in to the inspection with everything for the weekend. So they set up their 10 by 10 area. Saturday morning, they wake up, they have, a few hour block until about midday, and they're given 15 challenges. Midday, they come back to a checkpoint. That's where we're a good time for us to, verify physically, like, hey, you guys are hydrating, get them accounted for, make sure that we're checking and making sure they're still good to go. Because I'd hate for them to start at 8 o'clock in the morning and then find out at 7 o'clock at night that one team went missing, right? So midday, they check in. We give them the second set of coordinates, which is another 15 challenges, and then they compete till the end of the day. Sunday, they wake up and they have another 15. So that's how it's structured.
Okay. It's still intense, but good.
It is. It's your best worst weekend. Like, we throw everything at you that you could think of, and it's physical, but it's mental. Some of the precision driving stuff, the navigation stuff. You're in the vehicle, but then there's first aid stuff. And I don't want to give away a lot. We do change the challenges pretty well each year. A couple of them stick around, but there's marksmanship involved. That show, Forged in Fire, we have a local guy who was on that show. He handmade throwing knives and throwing axes. So for marksmanship, we did axes and knives one year, and he actually gave away a custom set of knives to one of the placements for the event. So, there's been AR shooting, there's been pistol shooting, there's been skeet shooting, there's been, BB gun, there's been archery. So we always changing the different types of stuff in it.
Okay, nice. That makes sense too, because you don't want to. I was recently at not a similar competition, but where they were doing competition pieces, and it came to a place where you're gonna have to change it up at some point in order to just keep it different, because people they get hip to it and they try to get over prepared for it.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of teams that have competed multiple years. We've had volunteers that were a little unsure because it's a very unique event. There's just not a lot out there that like, hey, let me volunteer, kind of figure it out, and then see if I want to compete. And then they have. They're like, oh, this is fun. Yeah, I can't wait to do it. So, we've kind of had a mix of both, or people like that were challengers and competed and were like, man, it was great. I love it. I just don't have what it takes anymore. Let me go volunteer and give back. So yeah, we've had a little bit of everything, and that's where changing the challenges. And actually, we've changed the location every single year as well, except for this year. So we did it at a place called the Jeep Ranch. We were the last event that happened at the Jeep Ranch. Then we moved it to a place called Florida Off-Road Park that recently just sold for a lot of money. So last year, Citrus was our third location. And it's a little tough doing something like this in publicly managed areas. Like, you've got to, you're tread lightly members. You can't be out there doing what you're not supposed to be doing, where you're not supposed to be. You've got to follow it to a T. We drive that home. But the facilities were great. The staff was great to work with. Everybody loved it. It was the biggest property we've ever used. So it had some of its own challenges logistically. But yeah, we really enjoyed it, and we're going to do it again at the same location. So changing up the challenges is going to be big on this year because it's the same property.
That's awesome. I think especially in those kinds of situations, you said it's a public property, right?
Yeah. Citrus Wildlife Management Area. So anybody can be in there at any time.
And I think anytime you bring something to them, like, hey, we want to bring people in here to show them where they should and shouldn't go and how they should and shouldn't do it, and advocate for responsible use of this area, I think they're always going to endorse it. They're always going to try to encourage it as long as they can.
Well, and I will say that getting a hold of them is not the easiest.
I understand that challenge, yes.
And I don't want to give out my secret, but I will on your show. So again, the mindset of always finding a way in this event to give back, right? So being that it was at private properties, like we helped make a memorial trail at one. The first one was like, hey man, you're it and we're getting sold, so don't do anything type deal.
Right.
But I was on a phone call with the Florida Off-Road Foundation, who is our main sponsor here for the Trail Team Challenge, was funding a Tread Lightly project for signage that we talked a little bit about earlier. And man, it took like 3 years to get these signs to the property, right? Like, there had to be impact surveys done. The signs were built by prisoners up in the Panhandle, and then they had to get delivered. And then what was going to go on them had to be decided, and who was going to pay for those. And all this long stuff finally came to a point where I was brought on a phone call to discuss the actual install of them. And I was like, well, it sounds like it's going to line up perfect with the Trail Team Challenge. Therefore, I can give you the manpower you need to do the install, which is what we'd try to do, is give back anyways. Like, it's just kind of fallen in place. And they were like, oh, okay. So I said, I'll just step away. Let's finish up what we got to do. And as soon as we hung up that phone, I called back and I was like, hey guys, so yeah, it's Mark with the Trail Team Challenge. Let me tell you more about the Trail Team Challenge. I've been trying to get a hold of you guys. Let's work together. Oh, okay, great, Mark. And now here we are, and they loved it. Yep. And we built the relationship. So Croom is another wildlife managed area that's not far. So we had a total of 4 signs. And I said, hey, here's the deal. Florida Off-Road Foundation, again, funded the Tread Lightly project because these things were pre-built. So like the big metal roofs were already built. The posts to go on the ground were 18 feet tall, I think. So we had to get a forklift. We had to get a crane. And again, Florida Off-Road Foundation footed the bill via Tread Lightly. So we used Croom as like our test run. Hey, what all are we going to need? What all do we have to have? How many people do you think it's going to take? And then there were 3 of them to go in Citrus. So that Saturday AM shift was the install of one. That Saturday PM shift was another challenge that was there for that one. And same thing on Sunday. So we got 3 more done during the event. And what we did is for the challenges, like, hey, every team had to spend 30 minutes working. So they would stay for 30 minutes and they would get a flat rate of points. And then the volunteers knew time-wise. We had a good staff of volunteers, again, that were there for the first one. So they knew even if all the teams didn't come, they were still going to be able to get it done in the time slot that needed. And then the equipment could be moved up. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
I think that you're finding what a lot of folks have found out here in the West in the last 10, 15 years, where if you actually can break through and get through to those folks locally, the land managers, whether it's BLM or Forest Service or whoever it is, they want to work with us. They just often they don't know, and they need us to approach them about it.
And short staffed.
Yes.
Again, Florida Off-Road Foundation. So they do the off-road tag here in Florida, and that money goes straight back into the community. So they were one of our main sponsors. And again, like with this project, you go to the BLM management staff, the state management staff, and they've got this property with all these deuce and a halves and all this military equipment they've bought and purchased or donated over the year. And you're like, oh, cool. Well, you've got a crane right there. Oh, you've got a trailer. And no, only Bobby is trained on the crane, and he works the second Thursday. And Timmy's the only one that can drive the truck that we can put that one on the trailer because that one has brakes, and he works on Saturdays. And then that one leaks oil, so we can't use that one. Right. And it was just like, are you kidding me? And that's where Florida Off-Road Foundation was like, call Sunbelt, give us the bill. We'll take care of it. We'll get you all your equipment delivered. And it's like, thank you. Thank you, Florida Off-Road Foundation. Like, they're all about, yes, let's do it. Let's get it done. Here's the funds. How soon do you need them?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's just nice to see these groups starting to pop up more. And like this, and I want to share this with folks, like, cause this was impressive to me. We were talking about this before we got on air, and the Florida Off-Road Foundation was responsible for this license plate, which you can get. And I told Mark that I wanted to move to Florida just to get one. And it's, we do this in Colorado, right? That you buy a specific plate, money goes to that fund, and then those funds can be granted out to projects and things. And it just sounds like you guys are getting more and more organized out there about taking care of your trails. And that's awesome.
Yeah. And we do have, there's a shout out to a club. It's called the Trail Stompers here in Florida. And it's not specific to just Jeeps. They're kind of everyone. And they do, in Florida, we don't have a lot of what you would call, and again, it's a weird thing, certified off-road instructors and recovery instructors. I know that's a weird who actually certifies them anyways, but they've got some experienced off-roaders that some people down here charge, which is fine if that's your business model and that's what you do for a living. That's great. But Florida Off-Road Foundation and Trail Stompers work together, whether it's having to rent out a park or rent out a facility, or maybe piggyback on an ongoing event to get their people in the door to be able to teach them and then go out on the trails and use it. So Florida Trail Stompers has been working really well with the Florida Off-Road Foundation as well. And they're like, hey, tell us how many people you have, what the cost is. So yes, so we can get that awareness out on, safe wheeling, proper wheeling, we're using the right apps, being where you're supposed to be. And, Florida, we're sharing these properties with hunters a lot of the times, right? So big awareness on when to be out there, when not to be out there. A lot of our groups and clubs say, hey, between, October and January, don't even go out there. Most of the time they're not issuing us permits, but don't even go out there. It's just let them have their time. We have the rest of the year. And so be it. And like with our event last year, the big thing was Tracy said that is the biggest weekend for equestrian riders, because hunting season starts right after, right? So we kind of had the hunters starting to come in and walk the trails and do stuff. And then we had horses, out there galore. So Tread Lightly touches on those types of things. Like, what do you do when you come across equestrian riders? How do you handle that? Pulling off the side of the road, shutting the vehicle, letting them pass by, getting a good distance, turning the vehicle back on and going, not like honking your horn, hey, move over, spooking the horses, they go crazy, or rolling down your window, can I pet your horse? None of that stuff. Like, hey, keep your window up, pull over, turn your vehicle off and hang out. So that was something that we stressed with our volunteers and with our competitors as well.
What amazes me about this is a couple things. I would not have expected a competition like this in Florida. And I wouldn't have expected it to have 45 individual things that you could or could not complete in a 2-day period either. Because I don't think I read that anywhere when I was trying to do my research on you. Is this something that you kind of touched on it earlier, that you kind of have folks that come back? Do you see this as an appeal to first timers, or do you think this is something that mostly just seasoned folks are coming in to do?
Again, I think that's why I love doing like a podcast with you, is just expanding the market and getting the word out there about the event, because there's not many like it. So no one really, we're still like, I'm finding that I'm scratching the surface in the communities. I mean, again, I own a shop called the Jeep Lab. I'm currently the president of Tampa Jeep Crew, which has like 14,000 members. Again, is just Facebook, but we've been around a long time. So for me, you even look at our logo, it has a Jeep on it. I'm getting ready to get rid of that because I've had Tacomas, I've had 4Runners, I've had FJ40s, I've got a Nissan Pathfinder this year. Like, I don't want it to just be Jeeps. Is it predominantly Jeeps? Yeah. But I'm trying to get into the Bronco crowd. I'm trying to get the Toyota guys to come out. I always say, if I wasn't a Jeep guy, I'd be a Toyota guy. I love the 4Runner, love the Tacomas. Like, that would, I grew up in Broncos, Bronco 2s and Broncos back in the day with my uncle. But, so I love all the vehicles. And that's the thing, is our event is for any mid-size 4-wheel drive vehicle.
I think there was a period of time there where it was just the only thing that you could really reliably get as an off-roader that you knew kind of out of the box you could do a lot with was a Jeep. That has changed now. Like, the new Bronco is it's a game changer. It's Jeep's in trouble if they don't respond to it pretty soon.
Yep. I love it. And that's what I say is competition is good for business. I personally don't think if Bronco wouldn't have came out recently and announced that they were going to do the Bronco Raptor, I don't think you would have a 392 Wrangler.
Oh yeah, I get that.
I get it. They were getting rid of the Hemi. Hey, let's, instead of selling these for $35,000, $40,000 and these Charger Challengers, let's get these Jeep suckers over here and take a $50,000 Jeep and charge $100K for it and drop a 392 in it. But again, we just got electric seats in a Jeep. Like, really? Like, yeah, I love my Jeep brand. Electric seats, bro. Toyota Corolla had those in 1994.
Yeah, and I understand you expect it to leak and you don't want a whole lot of electronics, but at some point it's silly that it's taking them so long to integrate some of those creature comforts that people want, and then Bronco comes out with it and it's $15,000 cheaper, and you're just like, well, I don't know, this thing can rip. So let's see what happens.
Yep.
I've been a diehard Jeep fan my whole life. I've had one for 30 years, 25 years now, and I love it. But the Bronco is real tempting, and it's nice to see a mixture of vehicles coming out to trail events now.
It is. The Florida Off-Road Park did a very good job at promoting all the platforms, so it's really sad to see that park got sold. It was in Central Florida. It was on one of the biggest seaplane basin lakes in the state. Family privately owned it, and I think they just said, you know what? Let's cash out and take our, $20 million and let's just be done with it. And the staff at Florida Off-Road Park, I can't say enough about them, how amazing they were, and how much they put their heart and soul to building stuff. Because again, yes, we are in Florida. It's not that impressive, but they sold off and went there, and kind of getting back to, that part as well as, these challenges, 45 challenges, we simulate a lot. And you wouldn't believe it until you're there and you see these challenges, what I can simulate. And one of them, for instance, I'll give this one out because I've talked about it on a couple other shows, is we call it the Bird Box Challenge. So we blindfold the driver and we put them through an obstacle course with the vehicle, and they have to listen to the spotter only. So to me, that doesn't matter whether you're on the Rubicon Trail, you're on Poison Spider in Moab, or you're in a clay ditch in Ocala, Florida. You're still going to feel very uncomfortable with a 10-degree turn.
Yep.
And you've got to, again, you're learning that communication, you're learning that trust, and we're blindfolded and you can't see anything. So we're simulating a lot.
That's one of those things where, like, I don't even like letting other people drive my Jeep, let alone blindfolded. So
maybe there's a challenge where the driver's injured and the co-driver has to do something.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. I like it a lot, though. What would you say the most common issue that you guys run into on the trail out there is? Is it getting stuck, popping tires? What's like the biggest obstacle just running trails
in Florida?
Gators.
They could always be out there. I would say it's a lot of the newer off-roaders would be, they love to play in the mud. And here's the thing with mud is a lot of times the newer off-roaders don't know hey, let me get out and grab a stick. Let me see how deep this is. Let me try to feel my way around. Again, there's a lot of negative between the hunters that don't like us being out there. So there are things that get thrown in those mud puddles to try to,
Really,
unfortunately, yes, rebar, spikes. So I would say mud, because they're either misjudging it, they're getting in there, or they're hitting it so hard that they're caking up their motor, their radiator, and then they're getting on the interstate to drive a couple hours home, and they're wondering why they're overheating and their Jeep can't breathe. I mean, that's honestly what I'm seeing a lot of.
Okay.
And then we always say mud the devil. People do that one time and they're like, yep, nope, I'm good. I don't need the mud. Thanks. Have a great day. I'm going around this.
Oh, yeah. I'm still cleaning up mud that I put in the Jeep, that I got on the Jeep in the first 3 months that I owned it.
Yeah.
And that was almost 10 years ago. So I don't do that anymore, because it's just, you do it once and you're just like, this is silly. I don't understand why I'm doing it.
Or they get what I call at my shop the dirt tax. And they're like, what's it? I'm like, do you realize that I had to rinse off 3 times working on your vehicle today? Oh, well, you could have just hosed it. No, I'd rather play in the dirt than in the mud dripping on me.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I'd rather chisel that off and not,
Take that impact and undo that shock bolt and just watch it all go.
No, I love the fact that you have a dirt tax. I think that's an amazing idea. And I think because it's a good lesson for, especially, look, kids.
I love what I do, but I will legitimately sweep it into a pile and take a picture and go, hey, so this is from the bottom of your Jeep today. I cleaned it. Yeah. Or when you take off the wheel and you're doing some work, and again, I do it more for information. It may come off as, oh, you're being no, I'm not. I'm just saying, hey, by the way, guys, your brakes are a safety concern. Here's what your brakes look like because you've gone off road. And I believe it. The rest of your Jeep is in pretty good shape. However, look at your caliper. Look at your brake pads. If you're going to do this, you need to take your tire off, and then you need to clean all this.
Yeah, and that's, I think people don't quite understand. Like, when you off road, you're putting a different set of stresses on your Jeep than or whatever vehicle you're driving. Right? It's a different set of stresses than a typical vehicle.
Right.
And I had this conversation with somebody recently. I'm like, I have 150,000 miles on my Jeep, but and I blew a piston spring or something. I can't quite remember, a lifter, and they had to replace it. And somebody's like, wow, 150,000 miles. I'm like, yeah, but my engine runtime. So if I'm out there all day, it's a 12-hour day and it's just running all day, and I'm going 10 miles, 15 miles, it's 30 miles. So it's one of those things where the engine's running all that time. So it's just more stress. It's more stress than the brakes, because you're hitting more, because you're going slow, even if you're in first gear.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
All right. So how many people usually get involved with this? I saw some pictures from the first season, and I was kind of looking at the teams for the next one.
Yep. So we do no more than 20 teams right now for this year. We're currently at 13. Nice. Each team is 2 people in one vehicle. And then it takes a small army to volunteer. So we're always asking for volunteers. Basically, again, at those 45 different challenges, we're trying to put 2 volunteers. So again, 30 or 1 day. So what we typically do is 2 people at the first 15, and then they flip over for the second half of the day and they run it, and then they kind of carry over. But 2 times 15 is 30. Plus we have a medical staff. We have media team that's going around. We have trail leads, because in the early years, I kind of oversaw the volunteers and what equipment they needed and how to run there. And now that the venue has gotten so big, I have 4 previous competitors underneath me, and we break it up into quadrants. And hey, so when they come early, here's all your challenges for the weekend. Here's all your equipment. Here's all your tools. Here's all the stuff. You got any questions? Nope. Okay. And then they got it. Like, I got really good team, and they're smart. They're the exactly kind of people that, again, they're going to be there for you on the trail if something happens. So I got full faith in those it's guys at the moment. So, to handle that. So we're usually at 60 to 70 volunteers to do this event. So
is this pretty much a volunteer event all around? Like, do you make anything from this, or are you just doing this for fun?
I'm doing it for fun.
And I ask that, okay. And I ask that as a person who has a show for fun. Like, I don't make any money doing it.
No, so I've been very open. The first couple years, we strictly run right off of the entry fee. And I've got to pay for the parks both times. I had to pay for Citrus Wildlife out of that. I highly depend for like trophies and prizes on our sponsors. So, you know, we are, and I want to say too, I'm very picky on the sponsors that I get. You know, again, I'm not trying to have Joe's Plumbing involved. Nothing against Joe's Plumbing. Probably a great
Nothing
plumber.
against you, Joe. Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, PRP is, you know, a sponsor of the event since the beginning. Stinger, you know, who makes head units and electronics. Stinger Off-Road is you know, they actually own a couple different companies. Like, so last year was our first year putting trackers on all the vehicles. And that was more of a safety where we could see where they're all at. I could put speedometer notifications because, again, if you're violating the rules of the law and you're in it, it looks bad upon the event, looks bad upon Tread Lightly. You know, so safety was obviously first, but we're like, hey, you know, we can set parameters on here to where we get notifications, and also too to protect the event. You know, come Monday morning, I got a phone call about 8:00 and my heart about sank, and I'm like, okay, here we go. What happened, you know, this weekend? And it was, hey, everything was great. And I'm like, okay, you know. But so Stinger Off-Road got involved. They own a company called M2M that does the corporate tracking. And it's hard because everybody wants like a monthly membership. Well, we're for a weekend, you know. So they jumped on board. You know, High Lift has been a sponsor. Pull Pal has been a sponsor.
That makes sense where you guys are at, because I feel like those are required recovery equipment in your area.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many good. Glue Tread was a sponsor last year.
Okay.
I mean, we really, and that's the other thing too, is I don't like the word sponsorship. I like the word more partnership, because the companies that get involved, it's like, hey, how can we use your product and showcase it in our event? At the same time, have people learn and get taught on how to use it. Because like Pull Pal, we usually have trees around in Florida, so not many people have used a Pull Pal. But we're simulating it that these trees don't exist here. You've got to use the Pull Pal. So you know how many people now I see that have a Pull Pal, like didn't even know what it was before the Trail Team Challenge, you know, or you know, a high lift jack. We think about jacking up stuff. Well, there's multiple uses for a high lift.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good idea to use the high lift. Sometimes you may be better with a bottle jack, you know?
Yep.
So we actually give the teams a minimum required equipment list, but they can bring anything that they want to during the event, as long as it fits in the vehicle. Because same thing, again, me and you go wheeling, no one's telling us what we have to bring with us. You know, it may be like, hey, if you're going to ride with our group, we usually carry A, B, C, D, but whatever you want after that, that's up to you, man. It's the same thing with our event. So, you know, if we're simulating, again, back to like the drive shaft thing, I'm not going to make them pull their drive shaft. I'll have a drive shaft already pulled out. I'll have the U-joints that are required for that off to the side and say, hey, here's what happened, you know?
Yeah. And can other teams help other teams if they're in the competition?
Absolutely. Okay. So it's interesting.
Do they, or is it stay very competitive? Because I'm very curious about that.
So it stays very competitive. However, if they're watching this, no one has ever said you can't help another team. It's very interesting to see the dynamics too, because typically that Friday, everybody's like, gotta win mindset set up, get the rig ready. What's our strategy for the morning, you know? And then Saturday, boom, they're gone. And they really don't see each other all day. I mean, we're talking Citrus Wildlife Management Area is massive. I mean, it's almost an hour to one other side. And we're using that whole entire property and private properties off site. So they may not even really run into other teams until like at night when they get back. And then that's where you kind of see the friendships build, the bonds start to go, because now they're sitting around the campfire. They're like, hey, did you guys do this challenge? What? No, we didn't even get to that challenge. What are you talking about? Or, oh, dude, that challenge freaking sucked. Like we were beat after that. Or, oh, dude, that one was awesome. We did it so fast, you know? And then that's where you see all the personalities come out. That's where you see the friendships are made. And then Sunday, everyone's like, cool, man. Hey, good to see you. Hey, good luck. Boom. And then they're all going in their back. And it's really cool to see that. I mean, I've met a lot of friends through the event that I wheel with and I go out of state with now. I've noticed some events after last year's that I go to and I see like 4 or 5 of the teams. They're camping together. They're flying all their banners and their flags from the Trail Team Challenge. And that's what's really cool about it. So yeah, it's growing the community. building networking, because these people are from, all over the state. I've had teams from Georgia. I had a team from New York last year. I've had teams from Virginia. So yeah, we've had other teams from all around come and compete.
So what you're saying is that you haven't gotten anybody from the western side of to come over there and play in the humidity and the mud.
I have not. But you know what? Again, I can simulate pretty much anything. So don't just go, it's Florida. Man, there ain't nothing down there. You'll have a good weekend. I guarantee you.
Yeah. I encourage people to check it out. I encourage people to, I went out, I found wheeling in Michigan. I find, there's all kinds of wheeling out east. There's plenty of it. You just got to find it.
Yep.
And I highly encourage you. I am one of those people who would join you to volunteer, because I am too old to do some of this stuff. But it's just the competition piece gets into it. And then you said 45 and I damn near fell over. I was like, oh, good Lord. Like, yeah, that's not for me, but
we've had a good mix of people though. We've actually had a couple all female teams the past couple of years. We've had husband and wife teams. We've had teams of brothers, teams of, veterans that had worked together, served together. We've had friend teams compete. So it's actually pretty cool. We've had just turned 18, that had just like, hey, knew we had to be 18, and they competed. And we've had, older, people compete. And again, it's at your own pace. So some people have signed up and it was like, for the $650 it costs to sign up for the weekend, it just sounded like a fun weekend. We love being outside. They're doing like tough mutters on some, and they're like, we just want to come out here and compete. And you know what? They come like, man, this is really fun. Like, we didn't expect that we were going to be doing archery this weekend. We didn't expect that we were going to have to canoe around this obstacle course and do this and build this shelter and do, and change a flat tire and a drive shaft and, blindfold drive. And they're like, this is just a crazy fun weekend, And if you do 45, you do 30, you do 20 challenges, it's up to you.
Still a good time.
Yeah, still a good time.
What kind of teams do you think do best in this, or have done best in this? Do you think it's like the partner teams, like the husband and wife teams? Because sometimes I feel like a good husband and wife team are good. Like, it could go either way, right? Like, either you've got they're just going to be at each other's throat, or they're going to be complete sync and working it together.
Yeah, the being in sync, I think, is the best and biggest part to that. So it doesn't really matter if you're married, if you're a brother, if you're a best friend. Your teamwork will either kill you or it'll make you excel. The first year, it was a team of buddies that were just, they were just those guys that you want to be wheeling with. They're the guys who always have a positive attitude. Something happens, they're almost pushing you out of the way to fix your rig for you. Hey, grab just here. I got this. Hey, just grab me a wrench, grab me an 18 millimeter, grab me a set of pliers. But, like, they're literally pushing you out of the way to help you. And one of them now, he's a mobile mechanic that's living out of an RV. I want to say he's in Arizona right now. Like, he's like, that's just him, The next year was a pair of buddies. One, they were probably the funniest team. Like, these guys were just straight up comedians. And one was just so driven, and the other one was just like, bro, you got a Coke in the back of the car? Like, I'm thirsty, but like, just they were yin and
played
yang.
Off each other, the dry.
But he was like, hey man, just grab me that thing. And it wasn't like, no, you don't need, he just, okay. Like, there was no struggle. Yeah. Like, one was the leader and one was the follower, and they just had smiles the whole time. Like, and they won, and it was their first year competing. And then last year, that team was just dialed in. Like, they were hungry. I mean, they won by a good margin. Those boys were aggressive. They came prepared. They came hungry. Their communication, and they also kind of skirted they were on that line of rules. They played it very, they were, when they signed up, they just said, hey, just so you know, we're going to win. Like, that's how these guys came in. And I was like,
Babe Ruth pointing at the
and I was like, bro, you guys, like, this is our third year. You guys haven't even competed. Like, no, we're gonna win. Don't worry about it. We got this. I'm like, wow. And boy, did they win. So it's been an interesting time, and unfortunately, they're not coming back this year. They've had some personal stuff, nothing to do with us, but I think, I don't know. I say that because right now they haven't signed up, and I reached out to them. I was like, hey, you guys were super confident. And just some, he's had some business changes and whatnot and career changes. They may throw a Hail Mary at the end and figure out that they can make it if the slots aren't all filled up. But yeah, so it's been an interesting a group of people that have competed and won.
And then won. Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
It's
fun
had
to throw people in.
A brother team like that 2 years ago. And it was literally, the guy was in a Chevy Colorado, very well built Colorado, and he just conned his brother into competing with him. And then he got to the challenge, and we're like, "Hey, bro, by the way, you're hurt. You should see, bro. He's like ghost white. He's got to drive my truck. Yeah, he does. Yep. Or you can just take a 0 and you can leave and go to the next shot.
Internal panic.
But I mean, again, same thing. Like, dude, you could be out on a trail and you could be in completely great health and a freak accident could happen. And I need my co-driver to get me the heck out of here and get me to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you never know. I was camping recently and I hopped out of the back of the camper and it was 2:00 in the morning to go to the bathroom and you forget, I forgot to put my shoes on, no big deal. And then you drop down right onto a rock and slice your foot open. And the next thing you know, you've got a whole situation on you and you got to decide whether or not you need to get out of there. And if you need to get out of there, can someone take you? Because it's my driver's foot. And you've got to be prepared. And it's great to see this stuff because it also brings a level of awareness to just knowing how to do this stuff, right? Like I can't tell you the number of times where I feel like I see kids at the side of the road watching YouTube videos on how to change their tires. And it's just something that you should be able to do, especially when you're off-roading, especially when you're out there. I'm not going to tell you to be out there by yourself, but if you're out there by yourself or if you're out there with a small group of people, you need to know how to do some of this stuff.
Yeah. And I think the best part about our event is that, we don't tell them this is the only way that you can do it. Right. So that kind of plays into a lot of the volunteers are a little nervous, like, hey, I'm not that experienced. Who am I to be telling them they're doing it right or wrong? And I say, listen, at the end of the day, it's not a right or wrong. Is it safe or is it unsafe? I said, other than that, you're reading a script and you're most likely holding a stopwatch or you're using your phone as a timer to stop and start the time. And you're looking for safety. If you see something, hit the pause button, stop, pull everybody away from the vehicle or whatever the hazard is, discuss it, right? And then say, hey, this is what we need to do, guys, before I start the timer. I said, absolutely, safety is the first thing. But, you may see, I don't know, a U-joint. Let's just keep using that one so we don't give out a bunch of the other ones. But you may see somebody pull out a ball joint press. You may see somebody pull out a tiger tool to pop it out. You may see someone grab a sacrificial socket and beat it out. And so the volunteers walk away going, I just learned 10 different ways how to get a U-joint out of a drive shaft. It's literally like you're taking the volunteers to class. And the cool thing is they're doing, multiple challenges, at least 3 throughout the weekend. So the volunteers are learning so much by watching 20 teams come through and compete and do things.
It's that exponential impact of getting people involved and getting people aware of what and how to do it. That's awesome. You mentioned earlier that there was some media involved. Do you broadcast it? Do you make any kind of like YouTube videos or anything out of it?
So we do have just, media for us to promote and tag sponsors. Okay. When we're, partnering up with various brands like Glue Tread, hey, we'd love to get some honest feedback on our product when you use it. Could you take some photos of, them using the product, applying the product, how it went during the event. So, the media team is kind of given a shot lift, like, high lift jack. Let's get some high lift in there. Like I said, Glue Tread. I'm trying to think of who else, like Bolster. They make like the mats where you can like put the little bolts in and it holds them. They're like the grip mats. You remember grip mats?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, but they have holes where different bolts can sit in them. So like we do mechanical challenges as well. So when they come across the vehicle that is not working and they have to diagnose the situation because they're going to be a good steward and they're going to help someone stranded, there happen to be bolsters under the engine bay or on the bumper that they can lay tools on and lay parts on as they're working. And then we're getting shots of those. So we do that's the big downside to our event is I can't really live stream, because then if you're another team, you could kind of sit and watch and see what they're doing.
Fair.
So we don't allow teams to like stack up and sit there and watch the other team compete. Oh, hey, the next
Okay.
challenge is this. Hey, let's get our game plan together. So when we get up there, we know exactly. No. So they're not allowed to sit and watch. We don't live stream. But in order to, again, get the promotion out there, get the viewers out there to be able to see the event, the teams are also given points for media. So again, tied into, say, like Adams Drive Shaft was a sponsor last year. So on the drive shaft competition, they're required to, hey, you need to take a picture of one challenger in a picture with the drive shaft currently replacing the U-joint, and you have to upload a photo, tag Trail Team Challenge, Florida Off-Road Foundation, and Adams Drive Shaft. So hopefully at the end of the weekend, Adams Drive Shaft, if they have one or two different drive shaft challenges, they've been tagged 20 times, 40 times. And then we also ask the volunteers, hey, please also take photos while you're there. Because again, there's two of you there. Someone's got the timer. Someone else step back and just get some photos, some in, some out, whatever. So that at the end, we're able to give it to them. Because some teams come in sponsored by companies as well. So they're looking for, hey, we want some photos of you guys in action. So we're able to, gather all that stuff after the event. I typically, with the companies who ask for stuff, I'm able to send them an email after and say, hey, Glue Tread, here's 40 photos of your product being in use at our event. Hey, Bolster here. Hey, Adams Drive Shaft here. Hey, Stinger Off-Road here. And give those back to them, as a thank you, and them use them for content, because I can't have a set of bleachers in the middle of the woods where them to pull up and you be able to watch them, pick through it.
So. Yeah, that's fair. Do you, what do you see as the future for the event as a whole? Do you kind of want to keep it capped at a certain level? Would you like to see it get bigger, or?
I think we go any bigger, man, this is going to turn into a full-time job.
A full-time unpaid job.
Yeah. However, I will say I have had properties throughout the country ask about doing it. Roush Creek in Pennsylvania being one of them showed interest last year. Logistically, just, okay, now I'm going to have to go up there. I mean, Roush Creek is one of my favorite places to wheel. I love that place. I just think of a mix of terrain and goodies and stuff to do there. They're interested in it. But again, being that it's going to take 60 to 70 volunteers, like, I would have to heavily rely on the community there to provide that. Right now, our volunteers, we do online training, to go over stuff. So, I mean, I could do that all remote. I would have to go up there because, I'm the one that's putting the coordinates down. Okay, I'm looking at this obstacle. Okay, in my head, I've got 20 different things that I could do here. Okay, let's drop this pin, drop this coordinate, put it in my app. Hey, this is what challenge number 2 is going to be, boom, 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 boom. And I'm the one doing that, driving around this wildlife management area for 3 months,
Okay.
So I would have to be able to do that. And then also, when you're reaching out to these sponsors, we used to do it in February and we moved it to October, because sponsors, when you reach out to them in like November, October, they're like, well, hey, we're already done for this year. Get with us next year. And then when you get with them next year, the event's in 2 weeks. And again, I'm not just trying to get free stuff. I'm trying to highlight a product. I'm trying to, like, Glue Tread. I mean, you literally handed me a challenge idea.
Right.
Well,
and you're trying to offset the cost, right? So that you only have to charge $650 as an entry fee, as opposed to $1,000 or $2,000, because you have sponsors that are chipping in to help with those costs.
Yeah. So, I mean, if, with the sponsorships, it would have to be like, hey, we're almost going into a series, of, hey, there's a Florida one, there's a Pennsylvania one, there's a Colorado one. Like, are you guys on board for 5 of these this year? And, it could be. It definitely could be. A lot of the brands that have joined us have stuck around with us long term, which is awesome. We built those relationships and we love that. It'd be a little bit tough. It would have to almost become a full-time job. Now, I will say, the other opportunity was we had a film crew with us last year who used to do Truck Night in America.
Oh, nice.
They came out and shot some B-roll to put together a little teaser to pitch the show as a TV show.
Okay. Very
nice. They shot a lot. They were there. They got tons of footage. We talked a little bit after, and we're still talking some more. but it would be very tough and very expensive because basically every rig would have to have like 4 cameras. Each competitor would have to have cameras. Volunteers would have to have cameras to be just.
It's a huge lift.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've got to get every angle because you can't. I mean, it's either that or you literally have a film crew following every team around.
Right. It's impossible just from a financial perspective.
Correct.
All of us doing this, and because I'm just going to repeat this for a second, like the reason why I asked it, because you're not getting paid to do this. Like, this is just something you enjoy doing. And a lot of us do this stuff that we do within the community because we enjoy giving back to the community in that way.
And I always say that's the worst part about this event is that I can't compete. I mean, what I did.
Can you recuse yourself one year?
It would be tough because I am literally the brain. Like,
you want to be too hands-on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because like we have our staff meetings and I talk and my staff is great. They've got great ideas and I never say no, but I always ask questions. Okay, so that great idea. So how would we do this in a sense to not ABCD? How could we incorporate that without this affecting ABCD? And then usually and they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, because I'm seeing the big picture. You're just thinking, oh, this little thing, and not a dig again, because I love new and fresh ideas. We always do a survey every year from the volunteers and the challengers, likes, dislikes. I take it on the chin every single year. And one of the questions is like, what challenges would you like to see? What other things can you add to it? What did you expect? What did you not expect? Because I want it to keep evolving. Because if I don't change it, it's going to get boring and people are going to stop competing.
Yeah. And people are going to stop wanting to come out and sign up for it and volunteer for it. Because if it's the same thing, it's you're just watching the same stuff every year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of, you run into that issue any kind of a park, whether it's Roush or even a place like Sand Hollow, where it can kind of get a little bit the same after a while. So it's good to keep changing it up to make sure that people are not just staying interested, but their skill set is staying higher. Right. Because if you're doing the same trails all the time, you're not making your skill set for off-roading any better. You're not actually getting better at the skills that you need. You're just putting bigger tires on your vehicle. Yeah.
And that's, and again, the future of it, I've always said, like, gotten some kickback, like, oh, well, why can't I bring a 42-inch tire out here? And I'm like, man, we're the trail team challenge. We're not the rock crawler. We're not the buggy bouncer. We're not the side-by-side challenge. We're the trail team. You're going on trails, in Florida, and again, now if I get 20 teams consecutively and I fill a category, a division, could I open it to side-by-sides? Yes. Could I open it to bigger, full-size F-250s on 30? Yes. But right now, my focus is your average, everyday, on-road, off-road, 4x4 mid-size vehicle.
Okay. And that's fair. This is only your 4th year doing this, right? So I love the idea that you might try to then, if you can't figure out or can't get the funding or whatever it is to kind of expand out to other states, maybe that first step would be, doing different classes of vehicles. Because I want to see more. I want to see more harmony between the full size and the ATV crowds and the single track crowds, because we're all fighting for the same trails. We're all fighting for the same stuff out there in the same public lands. But for so long, those other groups found a way to kind of pit us against each other, so that we are pissed at the ATV groups and the ATV groups are pissed at us. And we got to get past that and just get into a place where we're all advocating for the same stuff. Because I think there's more in common, and we have more situations in common with people who have ATVs and full size than you think. Yeah. A lot of the same recovery methods, a lot of the same problems that you can run into. It's just a different vehicle.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's all right, man. Well, so if people are interested in trying to fill up those last, you said there's 13 teams, so there's 7 slots left.
Correct.
So if somebody's on the fence for doing this year, what's your advice to them, or what would you tell them?
I would say try it out. I mean, it's $650, so it's not crazy expensive.
No,
I would say, that's what it costs you to go out camping for a weekend and rent an RV spot and all that, and everything is covered. But give it a shot. If you're on the fence, you can always volunteer and help us out. Either way, if you want to volunteer or you want to compete, you can go to the website, which is floridatrailteamchallenge.com. And you can fill out your form on there to volunteer. or you can fill out the form to submit your payment and sign up to compete on the website. We've got social media, so we've got Instagram, we've got a TikTok, we've got a Facebook page. So a lot of the stuff is on there. So if you're unsure, again, still on kind of what it is, you can see videos on there. We've got interviews from former competitors on there, former volunteers on there. So hopefully that'll answer, any questions that we may have missed today.
Okay. I don't feel like we missed too many. I feel like we got a pretty good roundabout on this one.
Yep.
All right. Well, so other than planning for this, for October, what else is up for you personally? Are you doing any kind of wheeling trips in between this, or are you just planning?
I currently have my 97 TJ cut in half on a lift at my shop. Axles just got back from sandblasting. So got the truss kits, full hydro moto built. Thanks to them for taking all my money. So I've got,
they love doing that. Yep.
Yeah, they do. Good old Dan and Bobby over there. They like taking my money, but, so yeah, I've got some axles that just got all welded up, and I got to do the front half kit, got the 4-link sitting there ready for it, and the fuel cell, and bending some tube. And, yeah, so I'm building that buggy.
So like 4th of July, right? You'll be ready to go?
Yeah, let me go tell my wife that I need another 20 grand for PSC and Atlas and 42s.
And then she's not going to see you for the next 3 weeks. Yep.
Well, so the other part of my amazing life right now, I mean, I'll say it, man, I'm loving life right now. The shop is doing good. Some other opportunities professionally have opened up that look like they're going to come to fruition. The Trail Team Challenge is doing good. And I got a 3-month-old baby girl that is probably the happiest baby in the world. And my wife is doing well. So I'm on cloud 9, man, right now. I can't lie.
Congratulations, man. No, that's
Thank
awesome
you.
to hear. I love hearing that stuff, especially like, sometimes people come in here and they're not come in here to the show, but just come into things like this because they're trying to just drum up support, and they're I don't want to say they're down, but it's more of a task. And this whole conversation has never felt like a task for you. It just sounds like you're having a good time with it. And that makes it more fun for participants.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that. If the person running it is having the best time, then you're going to have a good time.
You got to be in things for the right reasons, man. You got to, I'm all about the community. I love doing it. I love the passion. I love seeing everybody else have a good time, since I can't be competing there, doing it, because I would be right there in there just loving the weekend myself. I just get a different, love for it, seeing everybody else have a good time. And grow and again, it's growing the community, the friendships, the bonds, the networking that's come out of the event, the partnerships with the various companies, and bringing them awareness, to Florida. We do wheel in Florida, whether people think we do or we don't. We wheel in Florida. Yes, some of us have trailer queens where we go out of state a lot, but we do wheel in Florida. So yeah, man, it's I love my shop. I've been doing it 8 years. It's just me. I love doing what I do. I love bringing new people into the community and making sure that, they're understanding what I'm doing to their vehicle. They're understanding, like when they ask me, hey, where can I go wheel? Hey, you can go here, but hey, by the way, download this app. Hey, by the way, you probably should have a couple more things in the rig before you hit the trails. Hey, don't go wheeling alone. I'm not just a shop that happens to work on Jeeps. I'm a Jeeper that owns a shop, right? Like, my mom has a Jeep. My dad has a Jeep. My sister has a Jeep. My wife has a Jeep. My aunt has a Jeep. My brother had a Jeep. So when we go to the trail, it's a family affair too. Like it's what I love to do. And I mean, I couldn't be more happier right now with everything going on.
That's fantastic, man. That's really good to hear. All right. And I'm going to plug that one more time. That's the Jeep Lab in Tampa.
It is.
So,
yes,
I believe the website is thetampajeeplab.com.
Yep.
Just pulled it up over there. That's awesome, man.
Yep.
All right. Well, anything else that we should hit on that we didn't hit on before we kind of get out of here?
It's just a great weekend. It's just going to test your skills. It's going to test your endurance. It's going to test some of your capabilities. It's tough. It's not easy, but it's fun at the end of the day. A lot of self accomplishment at the end of it, and be careful who you pick as your teammate. That can be a big challenge in itself. But don't underestimate it. I can simulate a lot of things that you would never expect here down in Florida. And again, we want to get more than just the Jeep crowd. I'd love to get all different years, makes, and models. And, that kind of makes it fun. Like, hey, the Jeep guys versus the Toyota guys versus, the Chevy Colorado guy or the Frontier guy. Like, come down. I'd love to talk to anybody. And if anybody has any questions, I'm usually the person answering the Facebook and the Instagram. So shoot me a
Okay.
message, ask me a question. Let's go. We got a bunch of new teams this year and a couple returning teams. So should be a good year.
Awesome. All right. Well, and I don't want to take away from the challenges that are coming. So what I think we should do is have you come back sometime after the event, and then we could talk about the challenges that you ended up doing.
Sure. Absolutely.
And then we'll see kind of what you put some folks through. Cause the pictures, the pictures are pretty cool. Like everybody's smiling, everybody's having a good time. And I'm interested to see how that changes over the course of 2 days when you get to challenge 44 and 45.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Mark, thank you very much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. For those of you listening, that is FloridaTrailTeamChallenge.com. They are also on Instagram. I think it's Trail Team Challenge, right?
Yep.
I think that's what my notes here say. Awesome. And then I'm going to plug you one more time, man. That's the Tampa Jeep Lab. And the other one was the Florida Off-Road Foundation, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. And that's just awesome. Like I said, I would love to see like we do stuff like that in Colorado. It's a little bit different, but I'd love to see a license plate like that. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. If anybody has questions on the guys and the team that run that, I can definitely put you in touch. I know it's not easy. I'm sure it's a little different in the various states, but you do have to get so many signatures and then so many pre-sales and whatnot. But man, you
tell the Jeep community that we want a Jeep license plate. I'll get 3,000 signatures. I'll be fine.
And they're doing amazing stuff for the community. So I recommend anybody it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
I might actually reach out to you at least. I might want to put some people together because we love doing weird license plates here. So fantastic.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, the only other thing I would tell you suggest to you is that if you can't expand it to other states yourself, man, the one way you could compete in it is if you franchised it. So you franchise it to somebody else in another state. You let them come up with the track, and then you can go out there and compete because now you're out of that loop.
I could. I would love to travel and compete.
So I'm trying to help you, and I'm sure it's not going to be a good thing for your wife when you tell her, "Hey, you said this," and then
well,
I shouldn't be responsible.
Hey,
for that.
tire companies and winch companies and recovery companies, if you're looking for anybody to sponsor to go compete in said events, call me.
I mean, seriously. I think Mark's your guy, man. I feel like he's got a process together here for it. He just needs to get it. He needs to expand it. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
I love the idea. Like I said before, I love the idea of people learning new skills, whether it's people actually on the trail or, like you said, the volunteers. And people learn through the social media and all the rest of it. However they get that information is fantastic. Yep. And keep it up, man.
Thank you.
I look forward to talking to you later this year. I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome. So thanks so much for riding along with us this week. And as always, letting us be a part of your off-road adventures. Safe travels on and off-road. Always stay the trail. We'll see you next time at the trailhead.
This is where trails start and our stories unfold.